Chris, by the way, on the Trashwatch podcast on iTunes,
Yes.
the episode title is Kidders.
Ah, son of a bitch. Okay, I'll change that real fast. Kidders. Yeah.
Good looking at it. I would have just let that stand.
People are gonna be like, "What the fuck is sitters?"
So anyway, today's movie, Ernest Scared Stupid.
Ernst. And welcome back to the Trashwatch podcast. We got a little spooky this week. We watched Ernest Scared Stupid. Oh man, was this just a absolute joy.
I'm Brian, and I had a week to think of a witty thing to say here, and I didn't.
And I'm Brandon, and I'm the reason we all watched this one.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome, everyone.
Oh man. This is my absolute favorite time of year. And this movie did not disappoint, Brandon. Thank you again for picking this. Before we get into it, well, I'll let you know you can rent this film. You should if you want to. There's a couple options. Amazon has it for like $3. But if you have a library card, and we should support our local libraries, you can download the Hoopla app, and it's on there for absolutely free. So this week's not going to cost you anything.
Yeah, not even ads on that. It's great.
Not even ads. It was beautiful.
Beautiful. It's a strong word for the cinematography of this film.
Oh, you didn't like the super tight fisheye lens on Varney's face the whole time?
We'll get into the complicated cinematography of this film.
So I had a hard time with the opening of this movie. Did anybody else? And maybe I was just deaf, or I forgot to turn my soundbar on. The very opening credits before we get to Ernest Scared Stupid, it was silent, wasn't it?
I know there was music.
Okay, because I didn't hear a thing. And I'm sitting here going like, there's red lettering and like some people's names. And I'm like, this is really cheap. And then all of a sudden it was like, Ernest Scared Stupid.
I gotta say, it's a bold move to open your children's movie with blood drip font.
I love the blood drip font. My first note on this film is blood drip font, baby.
It felt a little bit like the Goosebumps theme for sure.
Any kids who weren't unsettled at that point will surely be unsettled by the subsequent opening credits montage where we're intercutting old black and white horror films with Jim Varney mugging to the camera.
I legitimately do have a question, though, because based on how this town and the kids in this town react to Ernest as a human being, do you think this is supposed to be like Ernest goes to the movies and people just pay to see him reacting to movies? Like, are we Ernest?
Wow, man, that's deep.
I mean, deep down inside, we're all a little earnest.
We're all a little earnest.
We've all learned the importance of being earnest.
Yes.
Oh my god. Yeah.
That's as classy as the humor's going to be today.
All right. So for anyone who hasn't watched the film, I'll give you I'm going to read two plot synopses because one tells you what's happening and the other one I just like the language of.
Okay.
Both from IMDb here. The simple synopsis is Ernest accidentally unleashes an ugly troll that plots to transform children into wooden dolls in the town of Briarville, Missouri. Which I'm like, yeah, fairly accurate.
Pretty much.
Now here, I don't know if there's missing words or what, but here's this other storyline that is written by Everett Poppin on IMDb. Life could be pretty if there wasn't someone like Ernest P. Worrell on this planet. In this movie, he helps to escape an evil troll out of his grave. That's the start of the end of the world. But Ernest wouldn't be Ernest if he wasn't planning on saving all the people. This action doesn't make it any better. It's getting worse.
The rumor come out. Does Bruno Mars is gay?
Oh my god.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I think before we start, just to confuse everyone every more as we're talking about this film starring Ernest, do you gentlemen know where the character of Ernest comes from?
Commercials, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was invented by an ad agency. I believe John Cherry, the director and one of the co-writers of the story of this film, the director of all the Ernest films.
With Coke Sam's,
Which is one of my notes. I'm pretty sure that's his nickname for cocaine. So I'm pretty sure John Kerry did a bunch of cocaine. And he's like, all right, Coke Sam's is my co-writer on this one, if you know what I mean.
I literally said this story is by John Cherry and Coke Sam's. It sounds like two people with fake ass names. It's like, oh, that's my dad's name, and here's the thing to the right of me.
So John Cherry is an ad exec who works at the ad agency, and it wasn't for a specific company. They were just like a regional ad agency, and what they did is they invented this character for all sorts of different companies. So you can find old commercials of Ernest selling used cars, selling hardware stores. Like, they found Jim Varney, and like the greatest coincidence, the fate shining down upon this ad agency, found Jim Varney to play this character, and all the Havern was him talking about the products that all the different people were selling. And it became such a phenomenon that like people, companies nationwide were hiring him, and then eventually like, fuck it, put him in a movie. It'd be like the Geico Caveman first selling a bunch of other stuff and then starring in a TV show. Oh wait. Oh no.
We are past the age where that can happen, like, because
100%.
Try to imagine like Flo the Progressive Girl, or that the AT&T or whatever, like or Jake from Steak Farm. Like, none of these people like could possibly have like movie series.
Yeah, which the actors are great. Like, all those people they're all like UCB Second City people.
Yeah,
they're all these bit parts in the commercials. But anyways, that blew up from just being in regional commercials to this is, I think, the fourth Ernest film.
So what you're saying is you don't foresee in the future an Ernest reboot?
Well, first off, no, that would be disrespectful, because whatever you may think, like, Jim Varney owned it. No one else can do it the way he did.
No, I agree. I 100% agree.
There are some things I was watching like, this should be garbage, but I'd like it because Jim Varney's doing it right now. Like,
yeah, like I wrote down at one point, like, he's actually very talented. Like, when you watch him perform, like, he commits 100% to this character.
Oh yes, spoiler! If you look him up, he was actually like a trained Shakespearean actor. Like, there are clips of him. I can't remember if it was King Lear or Macbeth he's doing.
Well, that's like Robert Englund. He went to the Royal Shakespeare Academy, like, and then he just got kind of situated into Freddy Krueger, and now he does all these crazy silly horror films. But he's clearly living his best life. He's loving all of it.
Okay, let's jump into this one. So, as we previewed a little in our spiel, we started with the blood font and the weirdest opening titles I've ever seen in my life. Which, yeah, as we described, it is the classic Ernest, which, for anyone who's not familiar, is just like close up of his face while he's making weird face shapes, like whether bending his mouth or elongating his jaw and like furrowing his brow. It's just a series of those intercut with sped up footage from old black and white horror films that I assume were all ones in the public domain, that they're like, okay, cool.
There's one point where one of the clips is like just like this woman belly dancing, and it cuts to him like freaking out, and it's like, is Ernest scared of women?
I think Ernest is scared of human interaction, or like anyone that's an adult.
Yep.
So this opening, there's like a POV shot of a girl being chased through the woods.
I'm sorry, when does that occur?
Some time ago.
It was a long time ago in Briarville.
So for those of you keeping track at home, this movie opens with blood drip font to get you a little unsettled, throws in a bunch of like possibly disturbing horror movies, and then our first piece of narrative is a little girl running screaming through the forest chased by an unseen monster. This movie comes out hard.
I say, if you're too scared, though, don't worry. The little girl is smiling the whole time she's screaming.
Oh, well, yeah, because she doesn't realize that the village is using her as bait.
It's one of those child actor things. I'm like, oh, they're just excited to be there. They're smiling through the whole terror.
I was legitimately, while watching this, writing in my head like a SNL sketch where they use the little girl to catch the troll, and it's just like Chris Hansen coming out to catch a predator. Like, Mr. Troll. Go ahead.
You were gonna transform this little girl into a wooden doll, huh?
No.
Trantor, is it? Have a seat.
Trolls is like, can I leave? Oh yeah, you can leave at any time.
And then we get the after the troll is like snagged by the village, we get Jim Varney and his first of like 14 characters he plays.
But I will tell you, I love him as this character because it doesn't feel like a caricature at all. Like, I'm like, oh, this is a really solid piece of acting from him.
And kind of really the only way you know it's him is because of the voice.
Yeah. Like, they have this great facial hair on him, this great mutton choppy, like curly. Yeah. Oh, it looks awesome. Yeah, honestly, other than like evil Ernest and Ernest goes to jail. Like, this is probably one of his most grounded. Yeah, that's great, because then it's just like Jim Varney to be a regular human, which is wild because he's so good.
I did not remember from my childhood that this fucking troll talks in this movie.
Me either.
I just thought he made grumbly noises, the whole time. Also, I feel like we need to point this out at this point. This troll looks A, amazing, and B, much like Critters from last week, was made by the Chiodos brothers. So, another win for this awesome group of effects artists.
And that's not our only connection to last week, as you'll find out in terms of the interpersonal relationships of the people of this town.
Oh my god.
So basically, they trap this troll, and they announce that they're going to plant a tree over top of it, and the tree is going to trap it. Like, as long as this tree's here, you'll be trapped forever, you stupid troll. And then we pull out and realize that, all this information is being given to us in a young child's report for school. Which Myra is like, that's a fucked up kid's report.
Yeah, and I love that the teacher's like, no, it was really creative. But really, if it was like now, she'd be writing like, call CPS, we need to have a conversation.
She's calling that girl's parents like, is everything okay?
Yeah. Well, that teacher also is like, honey, we need a little more exposition. What is the specific curse? Okay, there we go.
I also love in that report that she talks about the Worrells and their curses that, they'll get progressively stupider and stupider as time goes on. But the next shot in this is Ernest, and he has his little, like, garbage truck that he's added inventions to. Like, don't get me wrong, like, they don't work that well, but...
Hold up.
I mean, I couldn't do that shit.
The first thing we see of Ernest is him in his garbage truck dragging a woman behind it.
Oh, yes.
And the whole town is just like, aw, Ernest.
Yeah, also, he's the one garbage man for this town who apparently is supposed to pick up everyone's trash every single day. It's a very weird system. I don't know what this municipal system is, but I'd be very intrigued to find out more about it.
Well, and I'm confused, like, why is the garbage man in charge of cleaning up that one lady's yard?
Yeah, like, if it's condemned, like, the police should, like, take away that stuff, and if he's, like, they need to be there to enforce the law if he's, like, taking away her property. Yeah, it's very odd. But in this, so we're in the classroom and we get introduced to the rest of our children character, which, so there's Kenny, who is supporting Elizabeth, who is the young girl telling the story. And then also the very important trope later picked up on by, Cool Cat, of the fat bully. You know, in school, how the fat kids were always the one who were picking on other people, and they were the alphas, and everyone respected the fat kids.
We only have two settings here, okay? We have fat bully or fat jolly kid.
Do you know what the name of the bully is?
Is it, oh god, the last name's
Matthew Murdock.
Wait,
the
what?
Daredevil himself.
The Daredevil of Hell's Kitchen is the fat bully.
Holy shit, it is.
The troll took his eyes out.
He's like, never again will I have to spit milk on someone. Wait, what?
So does that mean that the other, like his little best friend, that's Froggy?
That's his brother. That's Mike. So that's Mike Murdock. Isn't that his alter ego?
Jesus Christ, I think you're right.
Yeah, there's like arcs where he pretends to be his like his twin brother who can see, and his name is Mike Murdock, and he's like the cool guy, and he just wears sunglasses. So 100% that's a reference. It has to be a reference.
Did John Cherry and Sam Koch write a Daredevil comic that we don't know about?
God, I hope so. So then we cut out to Ernest, who is fighting with the various contraptions that he has attached to his garbage truck, the end result of which has tossed him inside, and he is being trash compacted, much like Star Wars.
Just in case you thought there wasn't enough peril in the first 7 minutes of this movie.
Yes, the screaming child the troll didn't sell it for you. Like, well, we need to endanger the life of Ernest. That's what's important.
And then we need to follow it up with Ernest, like, picking up a baby doll and then doing ventriloquism with it to give it just enough humanity to make it so that it seems like he's brutally murdering this doll when he shoves its head into the gears.
Well, but let's not forget that at this point we're introduced to another key staple of the Ernest franchise, which is Rimshot the dog. And he is one of my favorites of all time. But this dog, I'm sorry, is actively trying to murder Ernest in this scene. The dog knows exactly what it's doing. He knows, because look at the rest of the movie. The dog does everything it's supposed to, everything it's told. It's trained better than any other dog. And I'm sorry, the dog is trying to murder his owner in this very moment.
Rimshot was trying to save the town by killing Ernest, the only person The only person who could unleash the troll. If he had killed Ernest, then everyone would have been safe.
I'm just now imagining an alternate ending to this movie where Rimshot kills Ernest and gets the key to the city and instantly becomes the new mayor.
Yeah, there's a parade where they like put him on top of the garbage truck and it drives around town and everyone cheers for him.
Just ladies in bikinis handing him milk bones.
Before the truly, dark time of the soul that was Ernest talking to that baby doll and jamming it in the gears, I did also notice that he picked up the entire exhaust system from a vehicle that was just in the back of his garbage truck. I was like, do you have a muffler? And then it zoomed out like, oh no, he has the whole like exhaust system.
It's like, did it fall off a car? Is the entire town just falling apart in front of our eyes? You know? But also, I'm sorry, this is also the slowest garbage truck crushing in the history of garbage trucks crushing things.
This also, when we introduced Ernest, though, we are introduced to my favorite bit of cinematography from the film, which is the constantly changing film grade. To the best of my guess, the like close-up, fisheye, like wide-angle shots that they do for Ernest that like start in the commercials, like him zooming up at the camera talking to Vern. I'm guessing that the like regular film cameras that they use for most Hollywood films couldn't do that. Couldn't do those shots
just
in that way.
Couldn't contain the sheer star power.
So instead of modifying his shot choice, he instead just like switched to video or lower grade film for those moments. And so the film is constantly cutting back and forth between different qualities of film and changes the lighting and the look. And it never stops. From here to the end of the film, it never stops.
I know we've harped on this before, but it's never going to go away with me. Children with adult friends is just not okay. I know this is a kid's movie, or I think it's a kid's movie, but no. No, you can't have like 10, 11, 12-year-old kids just riding around in a garbage truck with a grown-ass man.
Yeah, so let's get back to this. So our kids are walking away. We have Kenny and Elizabeth walking away from school. That great line. They're talking about the bullies, and I think it is Kenny gets a line. If their IQs were any lower, they'd be plants. And the back of mine is like, is this them trying to set up that they're going to become wooden dolls later, or is this just nonsense?
I'm going column A, column B. It's a little bit of both.
Like, because I feel like you could have called them like blockheads or woodheads or something. Yeah, I don't know. And also, this is when the little kid does a John Wayne impression, because 7-year-olds in 1991 love John Wayne.
I literally wrote like, oh man, that classic kid's John Wayne pickup accent. I've been flirting with women the wrong way for as long as I've been alive.
Of course, yeah, he gets a kiss on the cheek at 7 years old. I didn't have that kind of game.
I also have a problem with that too. I know this is like really dumb of me to harp on, like kids getting kisses from other kids in movies. It just makes my skin crawl. I hate it.
Yeah, in movies it's definitely wrong. Anything that like assigns romantic value to children is upset. Like my recent crusade is I get mad when like even if it's a baby and someone's like, oh, they got a little girlfriend in their class. Like, no, they don't. They're both children. They don't have boyfriends and girlfriends. They don't know that stuff. Stop assigning this garbage to them. And yeah, and films, it's exactly like that. Like, oh, whatever, we'll have the kids kiss. I'm like, you just got these two young children who are actors, and now these stranger adults are like, kiss. And the parents are counting the money going, yeah, sure, whatever. Fortunately, they're rescued, as you would hope. The children who have been abducted into this garbage truck with the town stranger are saved by the sheriff, thank God.
You can tell that Ernest is dumb because he immediately starts talking to the sheriff when he pulls him over, and if there's one thing you don't do when you get pulled over, it's talk to the police.
Well, he's white, so...
The two things you always say is, I do not recall, I need a lawyer, even if you didn't do shit.
Yeah, I'll warn you. One of my notes that comes later is this film is exclusively Act 2, so we're going to kind of just be talking about like random things that happen. And that's just kind of the whole movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right. So to get us moving, yeah, the mayor tells the sheriff, hey, we need to get Ernest over to Old Lady Hackmore's place to clean it up. It's an eyesore. Enter
our star, Eartha Kitt, who looks like Doc Brown, who's wearing the Doc Brown outfit and the hair and the goggles.
He was like Doc Brown by way of Grandma Addams.
Okay, so this is my question. And honestly, it really wasn't answered for me. I know at the end, like, she's reunited with family or whatever. Is she one of the little girls at the beginning of this movie?
I think she's supposed to be the little girl that we see in the prologue. Not the one being chased, but there's a point where it cuts to this family And one of them says, like, we'll get them back.
So Ernest goes there, he knocks on the door, he catches sight of her and runs away scared. The first of many times Ernest gets scared stupid. Somebody like, okay, we run out of Anna scenes. We got to cut to the kids for 5 minutes and establish their bona fides in this story.
Yeah, where they're making their homemade haunted house that comes to nothing.
That's like, I'm bad at guessing children's ages anyways, but it's seeing the haunted house. I was like, is this a haunted house for like 5-year-olds? Because 5-year-olds probably love it. Like, there's spiders on strings and they have to like walk through a hallway with like peeled grapes, and like 5-year-olds probably go wild for it. But I'm like, I don't think they're much older than 5, so I don't know why this is.
And then I was thinking, is this part of the carnival that they're supposed to go to at the end of Trick or Treating? And if that's the case, then why the hell is this thing out in the middle of nowhere?
No, I think this is like the kids are good capitalists, and they're like, well, our labor needs to be used to generate capital or we're worthless. So they have just taken upon themselves to start a venture. Because as you see, there's a sign, I believe it is 25 cents per kid. But while they're exploring the haunted house, we have to reestablish the bullies. So the bullies show up and start shaking their haunted house.
Oh, the brothers Murdoch?
Yes, the brothers Murdoch show up. Matt Murdoch and his brother show up and start doing sweet kung fu with the Hand Clan. No. I do appreciate this though. While they're bullying them, there's a little bit of scientific accuracy. It's like there's an earthquake, and the brother goes, "This is 7.3 on the Richter scale." I'm like, you don't get a lot of scientific jargon in bullying,
and especially not in Ernest films.
Yeah, I really appreciated that. I'm like, good on you, bullies. I'm rooting for you now. So in true Act 2 nature of just something that happens then leads to the next thing, which leads to the next thing, and no like through line way, just like random occurrence way. This leads to the kids going to Ernest and saying, we got knocked over by bullies. And he's like, you need a tree house. Except he doesn't say you need a tree house. He has a psychotic break.
Yes. He has this long, insane monologue about the Ottoman Empire.
I'll give him this. Ernest is anti-colonialist.
Yeah, but he does put on Ottoman face. like of all the things, I understand Jim Varney is different time, but like I can't ignore it watching it now. Like as a kid, I probably wouldn't even clocked it.
Even in the 90s, like this was pushing it, man. Like that Fu Manchu and that makeup was a lot.
Yeah. So and you could tell they were almost embarrassed by it because they only cut to that character like 2 times. And then he's not even there next time they do a montage of those same characters. But the rest of them, he does his class. He has like a wheelhouse character he always does. He has like the woman in the neck brace, an older woman. He has this like British, colonial general. He has this like hillbilly swamp man who seems like he does homemade pyrotechnics.
Honest to God, though, if this movie ended with like a long shot that just pulls out into wide, and it's just Ernest like leaning back and forth, rocking back and forth against a padded cell in an asylum that has been abandoned, I wouldn't second guess it.
It's going to be the cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and they're like, Dr. Verne, what's with this patient? It's like, this poor man. He demands that we know what he means, and yet we can never truly understand. Okay, so after this psychotic break that he has, the basic gist establishes kids like, we need to build a treehouse, then we'll have the high ground. That's the whole point of this.
But they go on like a 10-mile trek.
Yes.
Yeah, into the forbidden forest.
Yeah, so they dodge some centaurs.
If you've got this forbidden forest that has like this tree that, 200 years ago was, the cursed tree that nobody can destroy, it's like, bar that place off. Put a bunch of yellow tape, just like you need an armed guard, like 24/7.
Actually, I feel like they missed a chance for a joke. You should have had up signs and tape or whatever, like warning troll beyond here, like a bunch of like very exaggerated specific warning signs that Ernest is like, well, that don't mean nothing, and just like tear the tape away.
This sign can't stop me. I can't read.
Yeah. This is where he has a good line though, because when we're talking about the worries of the forest, he goes, the worst that could happen is Dutch elm disease, and none of us are Dutch. There's a lot of this film where I feel like they let Jim Varney just kind of like go, like, all right, the Ernest character, just kind of keep talking and we'll roll the camera. And that feels like one that he just threw out there. And I really like that joke.
So I had, again, like I got a little tipsy during my viewing of this last night.
That's the theme.
And my first, I know, right? Well, it's how I get through these things. My thought was there's that moment where Ernest goes through the tunnel and then Kenny, our child hero of the film, looks at his other 2 friends and is like, yeah, you guys, go on, go through the tunnel. And the only thought I had was, this is Ernest is grooming Kenny to become the next town serial killer.
Like, there's real dark. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard not to see these weird overtones. Like, Ernest is written and intended, and like Jim Varney designed him as a very like great, lovable, unobjectionable character.
Hey,
but
come on, Kenny, we all float down here.
Don't worry. Once we get to the giant tree, they build the world's most weird, elaborate, like garbage art designed.
Good old Swiss Family Whorl.
Yeah. and I'm guessing approximately 23 minutes it takes them to, like, it seems like no time passed at all. And they're like, all right, we have like a full multi-tiered, multiple weapon supported.
This whole movie, if I was looking at trying to figure out the timeline, the whole movie, with the exception of a long time ago, takes place in less than 48 hours.
Just like Critters.
Yes. And you're like, this is the biggest day in the history of this town.
And they skip most of the second day, if I'm being honest. So then Ernest is gone for reasons, and the kids are hanging out at their treehouse, and the bullies come to attack the treehouse. And so to establish that it's right, this is where we get to see our like Lost Boys weapons, I guess. This becomes Hook for like a hot 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did anybody look up to see when Hook was made compared to when this movie was made?
I think Hook was 92.
Okay, so
it would have been probably in production at that point.
So I'm saying Steven Spielberg visited the set of this probably, saw it, and he's like, I'm stealing all of this.
Could you imagine...
Hey, John Terry, that's a nice aesthetic you got there. Would be a shame if someone were to throw thousands more dollars at it.
Now I just want to see like a Tuesdays with Maury kind of movie where it's Steven Spielberg having lunch conversations with Jim Varney.
my dinner with Jim.
My dinner with Jim.
Yeah, also, we should note they picked up, when they went to the haunted house, they picked up a third friend, Joey, who, don't worry, they picked up a third friend for no reason. It's not so they can have an expendable character.
Also, when they're fighting off the bullies, they start off like shooting cans of food at them, which first off is going to kill them, first off. But then they switch from cans to pizzas, and, you know, again, the timeline is very screwy. When did they have time to make all these pizzas?
Yeah, I'm also encouraging anyone who wants to try to get me to go away to go ahead and throw pizzas at me. That'll really show me. That's the only way I'll learn my lesson. Just throw whole, well-cooked pizzas at me.
So they walk into the woods with nothing, and then they build this elaborate junkyard castle out of things that Ernest says that he has been collecting for a while. So my only thought is, like, Ernest is a hoarder, and all of this is spoiled food that he has taken out of the back of his garbage truck to either eat later or watch it just harden and solidify and turn it into art.
The whole rest of this movie is actually just a fever dream from the food poisoning that everyone gets, and it just seeps into the town's water supply. So the entire town sees trolls.
I was gonna say, I don't think this town has a dump, and the reason that Ernest is the trash man, because he picks up all the trash and it just goes away and no one asks, and he's just like keeping it all at his house.
We can't fire Ernest. We don't pay him. It's his own truck. He just takes the shit and leaves.
We can't fire him. We don't know where the trash goes.
Where does it go?
We don't fill out a W-2 for Ernest. He just shows up.
So yeah, after the banishment via pizza, 22 minutes into the film, I wrote down, what the hell is this movie?
It took you that long, huh?
None of that is anything. Like, I had memories of this film. I watched this as a child. I was like, okay, I remember. Troll, milk, it's all there. It's in my head. Ernest running around. And, like, none of what I remembered was from the first 22 minutes. But also, this is where you learn that the director has only, like, ever cut his teeth on these Ernest shorts, because for some reason, even when it's just the three kids hanging out, he does, like, the Tom Hooper close-up that is, like, bottom lip to eyebrow is the only thing in frame. And he doesn't like do a wide shot. He like whips back and forth between three kids talking, and it's insane. So then Ernest and Kenny get attacked by the troll finally, right? Like a half hour in. But
first though, so while they're building the house, they're disturbing the only tree that Ernest should never touch or whatever. And the little girl is talking about, like, oh, yeah, your family line, you're not supposed to do this or whatever. The fact that Ernest P. Worrell doesn't believe in trolls is the most shocking thing in this movie.
Well, no, Chris, that would be stupid.
Well, he is scared stupid.
Well, he becomes scared stupid. So at the end of the film, he's stupid. Right now, he's just regular Ernest, and then he gets scared to stupidity.
Yeah, I was going to ask, that was another question I had later on when there's a kind of another lull in this movie. Is it Ernest is scared stupid, or Ernest is scared stupid, like we're the dumb ones.
See, when I was a kid, I always interpreted it, despite the fact that it makes no sense in the film, that Ernest scared someone who is stupid. Like he's wearing an I am a stupid shirt. It's like I scared stupid, and it's pointing at someone. Like when I was a kid, I was like, that's the sentence that makes sense to me. I'm a child. Yeah, so he comes back and he's like, well, the only way this troll's going to get out, the old lady Hackmore told me I had to say this very specific phrase, which I just did, and then tap on it this way. I'm like, that bit was a little funny, a little like that's the kind of absurd we need.
So Trantor, escapes from his tree prison, and does he attack Ernest here?
Yes, he does, because this is the first like milk hint.
Yes, and it's also, I wrote down this line that Ernest says where he's with the trolls attacking him, and he's like, hey, I saw Hulkamania 3 times, which, how did we never get a Jim Varney Hulk Hogan crossover?
It's too good for this universe.
Yeah, exactly.
Our universe is too sinful to contain that.
The Oscars would have been canceled for every year after that because we've topped cinema.
Well, that, and I like to think that Jim Varney was a pure human being that looked at Hulk Hogan and said, no, you're too trashy to be in my films.
I could see that. Hulk Hogan's personal life is not up to the level of Jim Varney, who, by all accounts, knock on wood, I hope this isn't contradicted, by all reports, was just a phenomenal human being.
And I will choose to believe that and take that belief to my grave.
And if not, we'll edit these films with Christopher Plummer replacing him.
he is the...
Do you know what I mean, Vern?
Yeah. So he's getting attacked by him. Unfortunately, since there's just all sorts of loose food around here, he kicks over a cooler containing a bunch of open milk containers,
and
like
bananas.
Like you keep in a treehouse, open milk containers and a small cooler.
Oh, milk and bananas. Oh, what a disgusting combination.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So while that's happening, the kids are leaving. So they're going home for the night. They get to the edge of the woods. They go, civilization. And then they split up. And then
nerdy kid just walks right back in.
Yes. They're like, civilization. And he's like, I guess I'll turn around and walk back into the haunted woods.
I feel like I'm more upset that they just left that kid by himself in the haunted woods. Like, good luck,
Does he live there? Is he actually, like, was he adopted by old lady Hackmore?
Wait, he could just be like a ghost that hangs around these kids.
Well, there's not been a Joey here in 30 years.
We don't talk about Joey, not since that nasty business down on 73rd.
Down the pet cemetery, came back wrong.
Sometimes wooden doll is better.
Oh, thank you, Herman Munster.
Oh.
All right. Yeah, but as you might imagine, this third friend who was introduced out of nowhere is the first person turned into a wooden doll by our troll. Which this is when the troll demonstrates his ability to perfectly mimic voices, because for some reason he's like slipping into a mud pit like he's the fucking horse from Neverending Story. He's like, I was a goner. I was like, is that an endless pit? You would have been in some mud. What's the problem?
But much like the girl at the beginning of this movie who's smiling the whole time being chased by a troll, he's also kind of smiling while being rescued by the troll. And my only thought was he is so happy that he is technically dead for the next 2 quarters of this movie.
That's why I wrote down, I noted, like, if any film has a prophecy, it's automatically like plus 3 points in my... If you give me a prophecy in the film, like, great film. Love it.
So you love that Pan movie from 2014, right?
Oh yeah.
that was a movie I was super excited to see it right up until I saw a trailer that brought up the prophecy. I was like, get out of here. It's like not in Peter Pan. Like,
so I gotta tell you, so when we did last week's Trash to Treasure on Critters, there was a shocking amount of people that watched Critters, gave it a 5-star review, but also watched that Pan movie and gave it a 5-star review.
Now that's a Venn diagram I didn't expect.
Right?
Yeah, so the troll is loose on the town. So Ernest is going around trying to convince everyone. He talks to the sheriff.
Okay, so I had a note here. The sheriff, 2 notes, 2 parts. Okay. Number 1, he knocks on the sheriff's door, and as soon as the sheriff opens the door, he does a thing that nobody does where they just walk instantly into the door without being like, oh yeah, come on in. And that drives me insane. But also, the sheriff calls him Ernie, and I don't think Ernest is okay with that.
No, it feels disrespectful.
It really does. I was sitting there like, you do not call Ernest P. Worrell Ernie. He's not a fucking Muppet.
I would love it if just like, yeah, Ernest is in the middle of this, rantic, rambling, and he's just like, blah, blah, blah. So calm down. And first off, never call me Ernie.
Like, I was waiting for a Christian Bale yelling at the light guy. Like, who the fuck do you think you are?
Because honestly, if you think about it, Ernest is as close as Americans have to royalty. So much like the Queen, you have to follow a very specific. I mean, later in the film, he is called the Great Redneck Hope, which I'm like, I agree.
100%, man.
Like, I could see Jim Varney doing ads for Biden this year. If they just try to be like, hey, I understand we're rednecks, but come on now, people. Let's not be crazy.
Consider the state of the world since Jim Varney died.
Yeah, he was the glue holding the world together. The next note I have is Ernest going to the brothers who are shooting the commercial.
Well, first when he's visiting Eartha Kitt, she's looking through this book that's like trolls and other tree devils, and I had a question.
Yeah.
What are those? What are the other tree devils, do you think? Because I feel like Woody Woodpecker is one of them.
See,
100%.
I think what you don't know is, much like John Carpenter with Halloween, the Sam Koch and John Cherry, they wanted to create a series of Ernest Scared Stupid Halloween films, and we were going to be introduced to the other ones, but people were like, we just need more Ernest. We don't care about the monsters.
Yeah, the Ernest Scared Stupid 3 really tanked because everyone was like, "Where's Ernest?" Like, I thought Ernest was supposed to be in this movie.
Well, Ernest's Season of the Witch was a bit of a stretch for them,
So we have two brothers. Only one of them is the regular, because they're the Tulip brothers in this film. So they run this store with like a discount store that sells everything, including when Ernest goes there, he tells them the problem. They have pre-printed materials for an awful lot of troll fighting equipment.
Yeah, where did they get all this merch?
That was going to be my question too.
They have troll spray, no troll strips, an album of troll love songs, like printed up, labeled, ready to go. Now, like the generous reading, like granted, that's the audience. It's just part of the absurd charm of the film. Like the screenwriter didn't think of, John Cherry and his cocaine didn't think any further than this. But you could argue like, oh, well, maybe trolls are like the tourist attraction of this town, so they have a bunch of stuff. But
which, if they are aware of that, then why wouldn't you bar off the tree?
Right. In a short list of legitimate laughs in this movie, I have to tell you, I heartily chuckled at the line, "Does a fat puppy hate fast cars?"
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's really good, man. It's great writing.
Yeah. Oh boy. So now's when I realized I was just thoroughly in, like, we're in Act 2 of a film that's all Act 2. So he gets dressed up in all the equipment at Eartha Kitt's house. For some reason, he goes to Eartha Kitt's house, puts on all the equipment, walks downstairs.
Well, Ernest has to have a sidekick, or else he can't exist.
Well, that's what Rimshot's for.
Well, yeah. Okay, so I wrote a note here, and I was curious of what anybody else thought. Do you think Ernest is actually this crazy, or do you think at this point he's just like upping his crazy game in the hopes that someone in this town will eventually just be like, okay, we need to commit this guy, and unfortunately, like, nobody wants to be responsible for him, so the antics have just gone to a Looney Tunes level?
I don't want to assign that much reality to him. Like, in my mind, he is like, we're going to find out he's going to go off to like another planet, or he's going to be like Mr. Mxyzptlk and like go to the fourth dimension, like go to another the fifth dimension.
Someone says Ernest backwards and makes him disappear.
Yeah. Like that's what he is in my mind. Like everything he does makes perfect sense to him. So he buys all this stuff, and then like we see him for one moment where he's walking down the stairs at Eartha Kitt's house, wearing all the stuff, and then cut away. Eartha Kitt barely even comments on it. She's like rolls her eyes, and then he's no longer working with her. It's very odd moment.
I gotta say though, the troll puppet looks amazing all the way around, with the exception of like the other trolls that are birthed later on. They kind of feel like discount store trolls, but
at least one of them is a repainted killer clown from outer space.
Yes, which the Chiodos brothers made, so 100%.
We don't really see it until later, but I do want to talk about this with the troll, with the Trantor. Like, what is with those green pantaloons he's wearing?
They were very fashionable a long time ago when he's from. That was the fashion of the time, Brian.
And for a guy that's been living in the roots of a tree wrapped in burlap for some unknown period of time, he's done pretty well for himself. He still looks pretty put together.
Now, it is a little disappointing that when he gets like superpowered, really all that happens is like some worms grow out the side of his head, but
yeah. Although the nails look good when they.
That's true. The nails do look good. Until they shot the nails, I was like, man, come on. They ran out of money. They were on their last 25 cents at the end of this production, apparently.
This was also the moment where I said, "Oh, we need more Eartha Kitt in this movie."
That's a note for every movie.
Yes. I had also my second legitimate laugh in this movie is Jim Varney's reaction to where the troll trap slams on his fingers. I'm like, that bit of slapstick made me just cackle. I had to stop watching the movie, just stop laughing for a minute. Because I'm like, just a hard slam and a deadpan down to the camera, look back at the fingers, look back at the camera, and then scream. That's going to get me every time.
Yeah, so that's all I want to think about this process. So yeah, that's what we see him doing. He sets up this trap with a dumpster for the troll. That is during the day. Now at this point, it's been established by the Eartha Kitt scene that basically the troll needs to get 5 wooden dolls. He needs to capture 5 children before the end of the day, and then that will unleash the troll army on the Earth. After this scene with the trash can, they smash cut to night. No other work was done during the day. And I think at this point they jump ahead and and the troll has, I don't know, let's say 3 people as wooden dolls.
Well, there is that brief shot where he just tackles a skateboard kid.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's fair. He just hates skateboarders.
Just another child in this movie that has nothing to do and all of a sudden disappears into a wooden toy. Even Rim, I had a note here, they have found the most sarcastic dog on the planet to play Rimshot because he just keeps looking at the camera side pan, why the fuck am I here? Every single time. And I'm in for it.
One of the next scenes we get is all these parents are at the sheriff's office complaining about a couple kids are missing because some of them have turned into dolls now. Amongst the complaints I found out, one woman says, my trash hasn't been picked up in 2 days, which is when I realized that they expect Ernest to pick up everyone's trash every single day of the week.
I mean, you got to keep him busy because if Ernest has idle hands, forget about it.
Idle hands are Ernest playthings.
But also, how shitty of you to be standing around and hearing about people we can't find our kids. They've been gone for 2 days. My trash is piling up.
On the other hand, it's
accurate.
No, 100%. 100%.
My thing's more important. I forgot. We have a couple snippets of things that aren't connected to anything. The bullies jump out dressed up like trolls to scare Kenny. And then they run off, and then his mom yells at him.
They're about to Clockwork Orange this kid, just beat him with a cane.
Yeah, and then his mom shows up, scares him off, and is like, "How dare you, Kenny? What are you doing? You need to be a manly man."
Kenny grows up to be Cameron in Ferris Bueller.
Yes.
Yeah. Kenny's got a lot of problems.
She's the only sensible parent in this movie because she's basically do not hang out with Ernest P. Worrell. You're a child.
Yeah. We also then get Elizabeth, who is at home, and she decides she is too scared to go trick or treating, and her mom's like, "You got to put your costume on." She's scared. She wants her mom to look under the bed. So you have this great moment where they build up the tension. She peeks under her bed, nothing there. She relaxes, turns around, bam, troll in her bed.
I will tell you, this gave me a hard flashback. I think this was the moment where I'm like, oh yeah, this movie is problematic for my childhood. Because I'm like, oh no, he's going to be right behind her. I know he is. And when he was, I was like, fuck me. I hate this movie.
I wasn't too startled by it because I was too busy thinking about what kind of a name for a teddy bear is Snuffies.
It's I don't want to dunk on a little girl who just got turned into a wooden doll, but that's a shit bear name.
It is a shit bear name. Also, how does the mom not hear this blood-curdling scream and come running?
It's wine o'clock. Mommy's got her medicine. Go to the school, honey.
It's Mommy's Moscato time. Just indoor voice. Indoor voice.
So, so those are all things that happen. Then we have Ernest. Oh, something has set off his trap. Ernest driving around, his alarm goes off, so he picks up the dumpster, he drives to the sheriff's office, he interrupts the meeting with all the people. He's like, I got him, I got this troll trapped in my truck. And so they go outside, and in another bit of reality, much like the white woman complaining about her trash, the cop immediately pulls out his gun and points it at the truck.
Yes, yes.
Like, he does not believe the troll exists, but he is ready to shoot whatever is inside of that.
I also said Rimshot dressed like a Cub Scout is worth every minute of this film.
Oh yes, because he was part of a trap. That's right. Because it's like, you're going to be a little kid who's going to lure him in, and
he's the bait. Oh, it's so adorable. He's a Weebelo. I love it.
All right, we're gonna just be jumping sprackly towards the end because we're also on a time limit today. But
yeah, so we have Kenny getting chased through a dark street by the troll, which at this point is, it's mimicking Elizabeth's voice, and it's the bear monster from Annihilation.
Why does the troll only have to catch one more child, but he is so persistent on catching this one child who has done him no wrong?
Because there are literally no other children in this town except for the ones who are already at the Halloween party.
Oh
yeah, they're
God.
all. Yeah,
I guess.
I do want to know. I have a note here, and let me see if you guys remember what this is. I wrote down the words "the Fun Bunch."
Oh yeah, that's the band that's supposed to be playing at the Halloween party.
That's it. Yeah, sorry. We got the best band in Lucas County, the Fun Bunch. I'm like, that's the shittiest band name I've ever heard. Like... I mean, I would go see their shows, but in the way that like I go see The Room in theaters. Like,
yep.
I'm like, yeah, bring on the Fun Bunch, play their song, having a fun time.
That's the band with the third stringer Wahlbergs.
Yeah. So then all of our players arrive. Earth the Kit, Ernest, the kids, the mayor, the sheriff. They're all at the school, which is like the big Halloween party. Because maybe it's me, but movies apparently between this and Hocus Pocus seem to think that there's like a big Halloween party that everyone goes to in towns. We did not, we went trick-or-treating. There was no giant Halloween party for the whole town. Is that just my poor upbringing, or?
No. Okay, so as a pastor's kid, we used to have like a fall harvest party for the youth in the church, and you could invite friends and stuff, but it never coincided with trick-or-treat night. It was always like a day before or a couple days after, because who would want to like miss out on their trick-or-treat time?
Yeah. So they're about to do this costume contest there. The mayor's announcing it when Ernest bursts in screaming like a madman.
Troll in the dungeon!
Yes. So then we
thought you ought to know.
That's where we find out Voldemort's on the back of Ernest's head.
I have a line here that says he never knew when to quit was also one of my favorite laugh lines.
Oh, yes. That's a great gag. It's at some point Ernest is psyching himself up and he's like, as my fourth grade teacher used to, it's like Ernest never gives up.
My fourth grade teacher.
As my fourth grade teacher said, and it's just this like smash cut to his fourth grade teacher, and like fourth grade Ernest is writing on the chalkboard, and she's just looking deadpan at the camera like, he never did, and then just like slaps him.
Yeah, he never knew when to quit. And then he screeches his fingernails on the board, and she smacks him in the back of the head.
Oh,
so then later in the film, they come back to that exact same sequence, and it is mwah.
And it's like, we need that's the kind of humor that this movie needs. Same with the doing the curse before. It's like, if the movie just committed to that level of absurdity,
like that, yeah, they never really got the formula because they were good enough. Like the Ernest films up to this point have been successful. Like, I think this one was even successful enough to get one more into theaters.
It's not, I would say it's not the best Ernest film, which, I'm sorry, is Ernest Goes to Camp. That is
Ernest Goes to Camp is the most legitimate movie. My favorite's probably Ernest Goes to Jail.
Yeah.
As a film, I recognize Ernest Goes to Camp. They're like, all right, I'm assuming they had a script about a camp, and they're like, all right, let's see if we can work an Ernest character into this.
I mean, my favorite is Ernest 6, Ernest Goes to Hell.
Oh, you don't like
Ernest, and then Ernest Takes Manhattan.
Yeah, you don't like Ernest X where he goes to space? The fact that they never put Ernest in space is kind of sad.
Oh, also, we gotta go quick because I do have a couple goofs we need to at least cover in this one. So they're at the party, and they get the last doll they need, which is the bully. The bigger of the bully brothers.
Daredevil himself.
Matt Murdock. The troll shows up, and I had a question. Was the bully dabbing when he got turned into a doll?
It certainly looks like it.
Did Ernest invent dabbing?
Well, okay, so that was the other question is, all these kids, they get turned into wooden dolls in weird, like, laying down, reaching outward positions.
Like, it's literally whatever position they were in when they got transformed.
But they're all kind of, like, splayed out. So I almost wonder, like, whoever made these wooden dolls, they looked at them and were like, okay, I only know how to carve this. So this is what they all have to be in a position like that.
And John Cherry took a big old snort of his co-writer and said, "All right, let's do this."
All right.
So then Ernest gets attacked by the troll, but he gets knocked into an ice cream stand, so the troll gets scared and runs away. But Ernest doesn't connect the dots yet.
No, the kids make the milk connection so quickly.
Here's what happened. Okay, I'm a grown adult.
Yeah.
Who's seen this film before and knows what the answer is and is watching it. And the kid looks at the ice cream, or looks at the stand or whatever, turns the camera and goes, "Mother's care, milk. That's it." And I went, "What's it? What dots did you just connect? What the fuck's happened?"
Well,
what
what you don't know is Kenny is still breastfeeding at age 11.
Oh, that's upsetting. I'm moving on to note that Eartha Kitt on a bike is my favorite thing in the universe.
Yes, that and the children just like running into the grocery store and stealing all of the milk products, and like Kenny's just like, "Well, fuck you guys. My dad's the sheriff. I can do what I want."
There's a thing. I guess that would explain it then, because earlier in the movie, Ernest goes there and the clerk sees a troll, and like the clerk gets out this double-barrel shotgun and is about to like blow Ernest's head off to hit the troll. But now in this point where these kids come in and are just raiding his store, somehow he just comes over with a broom. He's like, scat you.
Well, Brian, I for one am happy that the clerk wasn't going to immediately murder children for stealing.
This is the Taxi Driver universe. Nothing but double-barrel shotguns everywhere.
Oh man. Well, much like Critters, he only used the 2 shells that he had and missed.
Yeah, this the movie spoke to me though. I think it speaks to the same thing that like my brain liked as a kid in Little Monsters, which is a movie I'm probably going to make us watch in the future.
Yes, please. I love Little Monsters.
Which is like kids gearing up for war. So like in that one, they like raid the supply closet at school. And this one, I'm like, yeah. When I was a kid, I was like, fuck yeah, get your bikes, put a bunch of goddamn milk in there. Yeah, get some super soakers. Like, this is a sequence I remember very clearly as them just robbing the store. I love it.
Ooh, one other thing I made a note of that when Ernest goes into the school is he gets thwarted temporarily by a pole door that has this like cutout of like a vampire on it that's like putting its hand out like no entry allowed, and I really want that picture because I just want that to put that on my bedroom door, just like
Well, I'll do some eBay seeking and try to find that for you there.
So we get to our climax. Ernest and all the parents of town have come to the tree to fight the trolls. Which now there's a bunch of because they got the 5th doll. So all these lima bean, or what do they call them, Brussels sprouts, have fallen to the ground.
When the eggs are like fully formed, they kind of look like mini Audrey 2s. Like that they're about to like just burst out and be like, "Feed me, Ernest, feed me now."
Feed me, Ernest.
But when this happened, it made me like I was watching the movie and I was like, I wish this would happen. And I realized like, oh wait, that happens in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
So I have another confession about this movie. Much like Air Bud, where the owner of Air Bud hits Air Bud with the newspaper, and I sobbed as a child when Rimshot gets turned into a wooden toy. I wept for like a solid few minutes. I think, again, another reason why my dad is like, yeah, we're not allowed to watch Ernest go Scared Stupid.
I can see that. Again. Like violence against dogs, especially an amazing dog like Rimshot.
Yeah, Chris, that makes sense though. Like that makes sense because it's sad when a dog gets turned into a wooden doll. Like you have a connection to dogs, and it's just very heartbreaking. Like my tear up moment as a child was when it was in the Pokemon movie when Ash gets turned to stone.
Oh man, yes. See, we're sensitive souls. I promise we're not all sociopaths on this show.
Speak for yourself.
I forgot. Yeah, I'm not weighing in on this sociopath one.
I mean, Chris, again, I was advocating for a clerk to just mow down these children with a shotgun, apparently.
Yeah, he's like, clearly he has a shotgun. Why not use this on the people robbing his store?
I mean, but as we've all learned, people are terrible and dogs are good. So
it's true.
That
was during like the most actiony sequence. I forgot. Yeah, I skipped over that. So on his way to the tree, like Ernest is fighting the troll on his truck, and like the trolls on the roof. It's the most actiony sequence. But there's not. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to say about it other than just Ernest fighting.
But like also, so I guess dogs aren't people because that would be the 5th thing. I was kind of hoping for like a xenomorph moment where like the dog, it gets put in the tree and the trolls kind of turn into dog trolls.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there actually there's probably a lot of stuff like that we jumped over, but honestly, like I said, the film is all act 2.
The last 30 minutes of this movie is just kind of miscellaneous action.
Yeah. But anyway, as I was saying quickly, the one thing I wish that they would do that Buffy actually did is just this troll was around 200 years ago. What if all the parents show up and they just use their guns, and the guns nowadays are really effective against these monsters, and they kill them just with weapons?
Oh, now you're fine with everybody breaking out double-barrel shotguns, huh?
Against trolls, yes, Brian. Because they're not shoplifters. I don't think shoplifting is worth people's
Brandon,
lives.
These troll eggs are children.
Not for long. No, they're like Jacks. They're like Robin Williams Jacks, so it's okay. I do get a great moment. The brothers who run the shop in town, they both show up while everyone's fighting the trolls, and he immediately goes this is gonna make us rich, get pictures, and the older brother just literally just says money, money, money,
yes.
Towards camera, and I was fucking perfect. What a
For some reason, I thought the brothers had a Penn and Teller situation. I thought the skinny brother never talked, and that illusion was broken for me.
Yeah, he just talks infrequently. That's true. Yeah, he does speak. But this also, I wrote down, great plan, adults, because the adults decide to show up not even with a lot of weapons. The sheriff has his weapons, but everyone else seemed to walk are they just gonna fist fight these trolls? What was their even 200 years ago? They had nets and shit,
and double-barreled shotguns.
Yeah.
The curse spread to the whole town. The whole town got dumber.
So then our kids arrive and start kicking ass with the milk and super soakers. Yeah, Kenny rescues his dad. This is a weird, great moment. This is the kind of shit this movie needed. The trolls steal the dad's gun, takes out the bullets. The dad goes, "Oh no, not the bullets!" Which I'm you should be more concerned if they had just turned around and shot you in the face with that gun that they stole.
Right.
But one of them puts the bullets in his mouth, and then the other one gets a board, hits the other troll in the back of the head, which then causes the bullets to shoot out of his mouth as if his mouth were a gun.
I will tell you, the last 15 minutes of this movie, I actively stopped taking notes because I was just enthralled watching this fight. It was so much fun.
Oh yeah, it's like I said, this is the kind of nonsense that we need in this film. But Kenny rescues his dad from those trolls shooting mouth bullets at him, and then the dad goes, "Go get him, Kenny." Not, "Hey Kenny, oh it's milk, cool. Give maybe me the adult to risk my life. Give me the milk and I'll go do it." He's
oh, he's handcuffed to the car, I think.
But no, he has hand me the keys. Remember? He said, "Oh, give me the keys." He gets him the keys, he unlocks himself, and then he's just "Go get him, Kenny, big thumbs up."
Well, I'm sticking to the story that the dad really doesn't like Kenny, and he's yeah, if he doesn't make it through, we'll be fine.
So Eartha Kitt punches a troll, screams at another.
Puts other dolls into the tree, in case you didn't get what was going on yet.
I will say this. The earnest kiss. Oh. It turns my stomach.
Yeah.
So much.
So to lead into this is basically at some point Eartha Kitt has said, it's needs the unconditional love and the heart of a child. And she whispers this to the mayor, and Ernest hears it from 20 feet away.
Two characters who have not talked to each other, and the mayor doesn't react. And then in the next scene, the mayor's "Kill it!" Immediately after she goes, "Oh, it's not the milk. I need unconditional love." The mayor immediately hears that news.
Half the town is yelling "kill him" in support of Ernest. The other half is yelling in support of the troll.
We could live with one troll. Now that's just one. We could be fine. Well, he could be. Maybe he's a better trash man. Who knows?
Let them fight.
Listen, he got rid of a handful of shitty kids in this terrible town. So far, he is not the antagonist as far as I'm concerned.
But so Ernest realizes, the unconditional love. Instead of fighting, he just holds out his arms give me a where's my hug at?
And then waltzes with him.
Yes.
Yep. Which I thought the waltzing was delightful.
And then its head explodes.
Yes.
Now, so I did a little digging today because I was curious how they did the the slime drip, like stretchy mozzarella cheese from lip to lip. They used the same thing that they did in Ghostbusters. This is wallpaper glue. So Jim Varney kisses a guy or a gal in this troll rubber head with wallpaper paste and pulls it away from his face and still gives us this just absolutely Looney Tune delightful ew, and I am in fucking love with it. I loved everything about this moment.
Yeah. And also, I don't want to doom the town, but that does seem like a condition to his love if he has to say ew.
Yes. Man, this is why Ernest never has a girlfriend.
Yeah, so all the kids so the trolls are destroyed, all the dolls are transformed back, including the ones from the past, which honestly I wrote down, I was like, holy shit, can I get a Kids Out of Time sequel?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but Ernest is all sad and he's like, there's nothing in that tree for me, but there's something in his truck because Rimshot's back to normal.
Yay!
Shadow!
I'm so glad the dog came back.
And I wrote down this note when he's happy to see his dog again. He said, we're going to do nothing but eat the best kind of dog food. It's got me thinking, like, first off, is Ernest also going to eat that dog food? Because that's bleak.
Well, I mean, I would be curious to see how Ernest goes grocery shopping, because I'm pretty sure they just destroyed all the food in his house in the earlier scene by throwing it at the bullies.
Ernest's home life is Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like, he just makes a whole box of mac and cheese.
Okay, so that is our Ernest Scared Stupid. I do want to bring you. I happened to check through the errors on IMDb for this one. I don't know if you guys had seen that. And I found something that made me lose a little bit of faith in humanity. It was just already at an all-time low for 2020. So one of the categories they allow is plot holes, and someone took their time to log into IMDb. You need to be registered to post a plot hole.
Yeah, you have to pay for this.
And type the following 3 plot holes. Why would Old Lady Hackmore specifically tell Ernest how to release the troll? It's revealed at the end that Old Lady Hackmore had siblings turned by the troll before he was captured the first time. That would make her over 200 years old.
Almost as if that's the point, buddy.
And then finally, the citizens of modern-day Briarville don't believe in the legend of Tranter the Troll, except for Old Lady Hackmore, Ernest, and Elizabeth. If he really did kidnap kids and terrorize the town, it would have been in the newspaper archives and as a missing persons case.
Do you know how we talk about missing persons case like today?
Yeah, by watching Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix, you fucking troll.
Someone, they're the ones who lost. Like, I feel like I realize how dumb people are, but someone took time out of their life. They're never going to get that time back writing down those 3 errors.
Okay, but...
imagine watching Ernest Scared Stupid and getting mad.
I mean, I got mad, but for different reasons, okay? But, this is an easy fix, okay? You just make Eartha Kitt's character a ghost. And when she brings her family back from the dead, you find out that they're all ghosts and they disappear because they figured out what they needed to, fix
that was her
in
unfinished
the life.
business.
It's her unfinished business. Bullshit. It's over. Congratulations. Yeah, but but also I can't fault whoever did this because I've been this angry before to be like, I'll spend the $15 a month to get the IMDb profile to just say my piece.
Chris, did you write this?
No, I didn't, because I absolutely enjoyed the hell out of this film.
Oh, yeah, so let's get to our final judgments here on this one. What do you boys think?
Yes, 110% yes, you have to watch this. And again, use Hoopla, get a library card, watch it for free, or, spend a little bit of money, spend the $3. It is an absolute joyride. There's problems in it, sure, but God, it's just delightful. It's so much fun.
Yeah, definitely wholehearted recommend. It's a lot of fun. And it's probably not one that I'll be rushing to rewatch anytime soon.
Oh no, it'll be a year.
Yeah, it'll probably be something. Yeah, that's a Halloween 2021 when hopefully Halloween can happen again. But it really, as I said before, Jim Varney he's a strong performer. He is just a really strong performer. And even beyond the Ernest character, he has one of my favorite Simpsons lines, which is well, there's no shame in being beaten by the best. Well, we were beaten by the best.
I love that Grifter episode. It's so good.
Yeah. I will say, I'm going to give a slightly more qualified recommend and say, watch it definitely, especially because it's free on Hoopla. Have your phone ready and use, if there's a scene that's not catching you or you're not entertained by, go ahead and start cruising IMDb, find the trivia, read that stuff, find the other things you find entertaining. Because, like I said, it's all Act 2. So it's just random event, troll tree.
When there was the scene in the school, the gymnasium, I looked at the timer and it's how is there 30 minutes left in this movie?
Because also that's after what would normally be the start of Act 3, the kid gets taken away and the sheriff's like, Ernest, go away, this is fake.
Get out of here, Ernest! Don't you know you're not wanted?
Throwing rocks at him. Get back into the spooky woods.
We don't love you anymore, Ernest.
Yeah. So happy Halloween, everyone, and watch Ernest Scared Stupid.
Yeah.
Yes.
I found an interesting from trash to treasure for this week.
Go on.
So, again, I guess kind of sticking with older ladies who have poor choices in film. This 5-star review comes from Deb, and her 5-star review is not too scary for a 3-year-old, which I say bullshit. Your 3-year-old should not watch this movie.
Oh yeah, that 3-year-old's gonna have problems.
Yeah. Wait,
bring that review to your therapist in 20 years.
Now she did say adults and children alike will laugh at the silly Ernest and a fun Halloween movie. I do agree. It is fun. But I was curious to see what else Deb gave 5-star reviews to. Very little, but there are 2 that stood out.
Ernest Goes to Africa.
No other Ernest movie, which you would think. The first one is the New York Notary Public Exam Speed Study Guide. She said, simplifies your studies. This book is an excellent study guide. I passed the New York Notary test on my very first try after preparing for only 1 week. Thanks, Amazon. This book is worth the price. So now we know Deb is a notary. So if
you're in New York, if you're a New York listener and you have some paperwork needs notary, track down Deb and talk about Ernest Scared Stupid while she stamps your pages.
That's right. Now, I will tell you the second 5-star review she gave is a little...
romance novel?
Oh, better than a romance novel, my friend.
Oh.
She gave a 5-star review to Adidas Men's Performance Mesh Boxer Briefs, Underwear Pack 2.
Go on.
It's so
what does our notary think?
It's so great because the title
gets
Pack
her
2.
stamp of approval.
Give me a second here. Oh my god. The title is 5 stars. No crotch rot.
Okay. Guys, we've had a lot of fun here today. But serious note for our listeners, if the crotch in your underwear is rotting out, you need to go talk to your doctor immediately.
Yes,
I understand COVID, put on a mask, do what you have to do, but if you are rotting the crotch out of your underwear regularly enough that you need to mention it in a review, please consult your doctor.
5 stars, no crotch rot. These underpants keep my husband from chafing, aka crotch rot. Aha, aha.
Wait, she typed aha, aha?
She typed aha, aha.
Why? God. What is happening in the universe?
I'll give her credit. This is from this year, August 16th of 2020. So maybe she's just like, fuck it, I'm done. I'll tell everybody that my husband's got crotch rot real bad. Maybe someone will come and help.
All right, gents. Well, thanks for helping me take a little trip down my childhood. Like I said, not quite to the levels of Suburban Commando, but still a satisfying trip back to my youth.
Brandon, you're still batting 1,000 here, bud.
Yeah, like your recommends are...
Yeah, they're right on top.
You know why? Because I go last, so after I go through 2 weeks of the bullshit you guys make me watch, I'm like, okay. I just need to fucking win. Critters. Sorry, apologies to Critters. Like, Critters was good. Like, it's not all bad. I redeemed
myself a little bit with Critters, okay?
But for the most part, at least in the past incarnation of this podcast, after slogging through with you guys, I was like, I need something that's going to make me feel again.
And feel it did.
This year more than ever.
So, yeah, we've now gone around the horn. At this point, we're going back to Brian Horn. Brian, what's your pick for next week?
Oh, Brandon. You know how we're talking so much about like movies that are just so exciting and thrilling? My pick for next week is 2000's Mission to Mars.
Oh my god, I remember that. Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Oh, no.
Oh, that's not the one I've seen. Oh, I actually have a story about Mission to Mars, but I have actually not seen Mission to Mars.
I mean, we'll talk about it next week, but I have a personal connection with this movie. My experience with this movie, I would very much am going to talk about it.
I'm just going to warn you, though, if you're making me watch Mission to Mars, there's a very high likelihood I'm going to pick Rocket Man for my film.
Please do, because that movie is delightful, and it has him farting into a mutually shared hose.
Oh, the Harlan Williams one?
It's worth everything for that.
Because I was like, you said Rocketman. I'm like, the Elton John movie?
Oh, no. I'm sorry, Disney's Rocketman, yes.
And there's a monkey in that movie that fucking hates him, which is beautiful.
All right, Mission to Mars. Okay, we'll see how Brian does. We'll see if I need to save myself from the pits of despair again.
Spoiler alert, you will.
All right. You will. Does anybody have anything to plug?
Wear a mask and vote.
I mean, not really. It's just, you can follow Trashwatch on social media. We are at Trashwatch Podcast on Instagram and at Trashwatchcast on Twitter. Just, follow us, check it out, and, subscribe, rate, and review.
Yes,
good
please.
Reviews.
And
good
if
ratings.
you have any
otherwise get out of here.
Suggestions, yeah. Absolutely. And if you have any suggestions for films that we have not talked about that you think we should, you can always drop us an email. It's trashwatchpodcast@gmail.com.